have a seat. Oh my goodness. Now I'm nervous to be in the company of these amazing individuals. This is so exciting. I'm going to fall over. Okay, so obviously we're the transformation panel, all right? And I wanted to do this, but I'm a bit worried. But transformation, Wonder Woman, right? Just like that. No, not quite like that. And as we're hearing from so many of our guests here today, it really takes sometimes years, decades, for this transformation to take place. So these individuals here are going to help us to dig a little bit deeper. We've only got 45 minutes, but I know that we could talk all flipping day. But we'll start off. What does transformation mean to you, Heather?
Well, thanks. So, not on. Hello,
Can we be on, please?
Hello, hello, hello.
Testing.
Testing. Oh, thank you. We'll share mics here.
Yeah.
Well, when Sam put together that beautiful presentation and we were asked to be part of this transformation panel, what originally came to mind is just how often women have this, what we're talking about, expectation, all these societal sort of norms that have kind of been put upon us from day one as children, as we heard from our speakers earlier, how we address a little boy or a little girl. And this picture-perfect image that I think that we're all trying to reach for, it makes us, of course, there's a lot of self-loathing that comes with that, but there's also this deep loathing for another woman that you see that has the perception or the face that they've got it all together, or they figured it out, or they've really faked it until they made it, and they look like they've got it. And in my view, and also, as we heard today, we have no idea what's going on behind that picture-perfect surface or the person the mask that they put on that day, that they're working 4 jobs or they have, troubles at home, and every one of us in this room is going through something. So for me, the feeling of transformation is exactly what we've seen, is how to be your authentic self and to be okay with that. It kind of brings me to this morning, up very early at 5, and my hair was wiry out to here. And I was like, wouldn't that be something to just show up exactly as I woke up? Like Beyonce, I woke up like this, and to still be confident in exactly who I am, because it didn't change what sort of story I brought today. Of course, that isn't how this morning went. So I think that I, too, am a person that lives within the patriarchy of what's expected for someone who's a panelist or someone who's a woman or someone who's trying to show up. And that's what I'm bringing with me right now, is that no matter how I show up in the morning, that what I have to offer in my voice and this story is much more profound than what is on the surface.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jamie.
First of all, I loved what you had to say about the patriarchy and the leader of it. I'm from America. I'm from California, though, so that's a good thing.
It was just a subliminal message.
Yeah. I'm really honored to be here and just want to thank everybody. Who here feels like we need change in this world? Huh? Yeah, major change. We could call that the level of transformation. So I want to just talk a little bit about transformation and change. So trans is in there, and that means movement. And a lot of my work is based on basically a bumper sticker that says, you may have seen it, shit happens and shift needs to happen. Have you seen that? Yeah? So shit and stress happen, and we need to shift. So we look at, well, where are we? And where we are is, I kind of call it a lot of times, the stress mess. And with adversity, with difficulties, with challenges, the tough side of that is the kind of biochemistry, the neurophysiology of stress. And we're not thinking so well. Our emotional regulation and intelligence goes down. Our physical well-being and how we're able to show up and actually act or perform goes down. And so here we are, and then I'm a 6th-degree black belt in Aikido, which is actually known as the martial art of peace. I means love, harmony, oneness, unity. Keys are energy. Do is this way of more harmonious, connected ways of being. So I've appreciated everything everyone's had to say. So we would, from that point of view, say be in more of the zone or an integrated way of being, more calm, more balanced, more centered, more masterful. And then the question is, how do we get from here to there, correct? And that's the process of transformation. And it involves change. And so many of us are afraid of change, right? We have habits, but we found out from a neuroscientist that we are all wired with neuroplasticity. So we actually can change, we can grow. And involved in all of that is basically a process of evolution. And that's really cool. So in the process of transformation and of change, if we can embrace change, and if we can learn some ways to move from here to there, how do we do that? And there are ways to do that, and they start with getting centered and balanced and calm and connected with yourself, connected with, we could call it a higher power, the infinite intelligence and power of the universe that's all around us and within us and with everyone, and it's all the same energy, so we realize we really are all the same. We can evolve, and revolution, which is about great change, has evolution in it, so that we are really evolving to a higher place. The one other thing I'll mention is that's helped me through a lot of my challenges through life, and I'm going to come out, okay? I'm gay, that's nothing. I'm going to come out today. I've never done it in public before. I'm 65 years old. Woo! 65, yeah? Whoa.
You heard it here first.
So I've had a lot of experiences in my life and a lot of challenges. And what has really helped me a lot is what I think maybe the quantum physicists call chaos theory. And we heard a lot about chaos, and it feels like we're in chaos. Chaos can be scary. We can feel overwhelmed, a lot of different difficulties during the chaotic period. But if you start to look at it according to chaos theory, it's a time of disorganization so that then you can move to the next higher level of reorganization. So as we're going through these kinds of transformations and transitional periods, transformative periods, remember to embrace change and movement, revolution, evolution, and that we're moving to the next higher level of organization in your life. And everyone here who's spoken about that has really talked about the details, how that looks in their life, and it's really quite incredible. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Transformation, as far as a person is concerned, is the reward for doing the things that most people do not want to do. That's when you transform. Is when you're doing things, when you give up the sacrifice you make, the work you put in, the commitment you have. Transformation is what happens when you do those things. And a lot of people don't want to do those things, but transformation will happen anyway. That has changed. The universe changes. Life changes. Events will change you. Transformation, though, if you can channel it and do the things that others will not do, you will transform into a better person, the person you want to be. The people in this room who gave up a whole day to be here because they want something better for yourselves or for the people around you that you love. That, to me, is transformation.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of amazing things already said about transformation, and the thing that I'd like to take a step further is my belief is we're always transforming. It's not a light switch that you turn on or off. It's always happening to you. So then the question becomes, do you like what you're transforming into? And we know when life happens, if we don't take charge of it, it automatically happens by default. So our role is to be discerning about the change and the transformation that we desire to experience. And we're in total control of that. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. So as I was growing up, I was always told I shouldn't smile because my smile was ugly and I had too many teeth. So all of my school photographs, I was like, right? Now I get compliments about my smile. What I want to ask each of you on the panel here is what were the should-bes that you faced as you were growing up? And how did that actually affect who you became? Heather?
So I know that a lot of what Monica puts together here is understanding what single parents go through, specifically what single moms go through. And my mom was a single mom, and she was doing it on her own for a very long time, and was stuck in a dead-end job, working many different jobs, just trying to make ends meet. You know, a common story for so many different people. And funnily enough, the should-be from her was that it's so simple, and we hear it, was that you are going to live in a time when you can do whatever you can put your mind to. And I was young enough and naive enough, and Mom was the superhero, so I was, you know, crazy enough to believe her, right? And that should be, I guess, you know, that's the message that we're hearing for our young girls and boys now, but that has truly carried me forward in so many different ways. The should-bes that came from society really tried to squash that down. When I was too bold in the workplace, when I really spoke my mind, certainly when I showed up in my feminine in certain workplaces where being in your masculine and showing, you know, a pantsuit, the pantsuit, and all the power to the women who want to wear pantsuits. Honestly, I have some great pantsuits in my wardrobe. But sometimes I also want to wear a dress, and I want to wear a dress with flowers, and I really want to be in my flow and in my feminine. And what that has caused is a disruption to what power looks like, because so often we associate power to the masculine. And for me, you know, like my handle on Twitter and Instagram is Lady Power, because I want those words to be together as much as possible when we talk about the divine feminine, when we talk about women in power. Those are words that are very strong to me. And within the context of this duality, and I believe that there, of course, is two very strong forces and many in between the masculine and feminine, is really to challenge ourselves in knowing that we all have the feminine and masculine within us, but finding ways to nurture and honor those different parts of us. So maybe it isn't what stereotypically it has been meant to be a woman or a man. So perhaps it's not nurturing when you feel like you're in your feminine. And maybe perhaps it's not working on a car when you feel like you're in your masculine. But you can feel those energies within you, and when you're doing certain actions, like for me when I'm running, I really feel in my masculine. My endorphins are running and I'm, you know, really ready to go and fire something up. And I want to honor that. And there are other times where I'm in my feminine and I'm, you know, kicking butt at work, but it's because I've actually taken that time to listen to another woman. And we hear a lot about lifting other women up. To me, one of the best ways to do that is to talk to your colleagues, to your boss. A little drop of knowledge is all it takes. Hey, did you see what Suzanne pulled off today? Like, my gosh, you know, I really loved how she did this. And when people are talking in the workplace about the good work that women are doing, that's when we start to elevate each other and not tear each other down.
Thank you.
I really adored my mother. She was gorgeous and smart and sociable and loving. She was almost like the goddess incarnate. However, she was born in 1921. She's a blessed memory now. And she had 3 brothers. So whatever money that her family had, and both my parents, their parents were Jewish immigrants. They fled the pogroms in Russia. They had hardly anything to their names. Anyway, so my mother didn't get to go to college because whatever money there was went to the brothers. And she really didn't get to fully develop herself. So that's a bit of background. I was a great golfer since I was 7 years old. I was in headlines. I was winning state championships. I was just a great little natural athlete. And in 6th grade, there was a tennis tournament, and I decided to play in it. So I practiced for 3 weeks, and then I won the tennis tournament. We're getting to the should be. So my mother literally took me aside, and she said, "You can't win anymore. You shouldn't win. You just can't win at everything. You shouldn't be conceited. And basically the message was you shouldn't be so great. And why? Because people won't like you. And that had really become her MO. Her way that she survived and thrived was to be liked. So a very common story. So anyways, and that has really impacted me through my life, because I've done great things, but I also really kind of hold back, and I never really feel very good about it, and I could have been a lot greater, honestly, but I shouldn't be, and I've always got to worry about other people. My father, who I just lost last year at almost 98, fabulous man, again, born in 1920, lost his dad, suicide, homicide, the Great Depression when he was 10 years old in 1930, all that stuff, and he kind of played it by the book. Well, I have a brother and a sister, and one of my girlfriends asked him one time, what was it like being Jamie's father? Because I was a little different from the start, to say the least, and he said, well, it was kind of a challenge, but you know what? I had 3 kids, one of each kind. Meaning I had a boy, I had a girl, and then he had me. So today they call it genderqueer or whatever. I feel like I'm an androgyne. I really am kind of a blend of the male and the female in so many ways. And I was fortunate to find the martial art of Aikido, which is all about balance and harmony and the flow and the masculine and feminine. But there was another should in there. So that was something interesting. One other, I'll just say an internal should. And that was that we kind of made it barely to the suburbs, and we had a cleaning lady who was black, and she would come every day with the other cleaning ladies from the ghetto. This is America, right? Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on the bus. And she was like my second mother. I absolutely adored her. But it made me very sensitive from 5 years old to issues of race and class and privilege and all those things. Not that it had any words to articulate that. And then we took a family car trip from Milwaukee to Florida when I was 6 years old. It was like the greatest thing that ever happened to us, because otherwise we went to Fargo, North Dakota. Minneapolis was huge. So, but I remember driving through the South, and we're talking the 60s, and we saw shacks. And my brother and sister and I learned to call that poverty. And from all this sensitization to these issues, I remember 9 years old, Saturday morning, watching TV going, I have it too good. And that was combined with the other messages, right? That I'm too good and da-da-da. So I have it too good, so I need to suffer with everybody else. And I became a very politically motivated, downwardly mobile, young 20-something-year-old lesbian in the 70s, So it's really interesting how these things play out. And even at this age, to see those kinds of feelings and messages pop up and go, gotta let that go and keep the evolution moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jamie. That's wonderful.
Well, I have to say I really suck at should be, because I should be a lot of things that was projected of me, but I'm not. I should be interested in a lot of things that are projected of me, which I'm not. I should not be in this room with all these beautiful women. That's what our society tells. We are to be separate, because we have separate purpose, which is, yes, that's why I suck at it, because I am in this room. Because I do believe in women being equal to men, and I do believe that all women have something tremendous to offer. That's why we started our podcast, The Virgin, the Beauty, and the Bitch. That's what that's about. It's about what society has placed on women as what your image is supposed to be and how you are supposed to be, but we see it completely different. That's why we started our podcast, is that we want women to understand that you're not these archetypes that society has placed on you. You're far more than that. So should be, yes, I suck at should be.
So, my mother was pregnant with my twin brother and I in 1967. And that was a time when unmarried women were sent away. So my mother, on my grandfather's urging, was sent away to a home to give up her children. And thank God for my great-grandmother who stepped in and said, "Oh no, that's not happening. I'll help raise the kids." So my great-grandmother stepped up to the task, my grandmother helped, and my aunt did too. So I have a tremendous love for women. It runs deep. I have a tremendous respect for women, to the point where if I'm interviewing a male or female candidate for one of our companies, I'll discriminate against the male and hire the woman. Yeah, I'm that smart. So for sure, our past shapes us in terms of who we are today and the decisions that we make. And then it's up to us to figure out what we want our future to look like by the decisions and choices that we make. So I would say, regardless of what you heard growing up, that was maybe a hurtful or comment or something that affected you, really step into your power, into that balance of that masculine and feminine energy, because it takes both, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It takes both. I work in the field of money and the energy of money, and one day I asked money, tell me about you, tell me about your energy, what are you? And right then, I felt a very distinct, clear feeling of the energy of creativity, which I thought, beautiful, that's feminine energy. And in the very next moment, I felt a very powerful masculine energy of discipline. And that made sense to me, because it's us when we bring our we need to be disciplined to bring our creativity to life, don't we? And we combine those two. We can't leave one out. We need to have both. And then we can truly live the most incredible life ever.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So going back to these should-bes, I know in my own story, the should-bes kept me repressed, kept me down, and had traumatic results in my life. So I'm just going to ask our panel, these should-bes, do you think they can actually contribute to adversity that we face in our lives?
Yes, I mean, most certainly. You know, when it comes to the should-bes that we face and how, I mean, like, we can talk about it on a personal level, that inner voice. We can talk about it on the familial level. Then we can talk about, you know, our friends group and then larger society. And when so many different groups that you interact with in your life are saying either similar messages or play off of that very deep inner voice, often constructed, you know, when we're young, but those voices continue to grow as we become into adults and everything else. So, you know, I think that the adversity that builds from all these should-bes, because you're dismantling what society has said, this is the system, this is how we run. And a lot of this, of course, is very purposeful to keep the power in a very small, select few people in this world. So when you're facing adversity, I mean, you're really pushing against this dismantling of the patriarchy. You know, another one of the should-bes that I've faced in my life is I identify as pansexual, which some of you may have not heard of before, but it means that I've dated across the gender spectrums, and that's something that spoke to me when I was a child, and then society said, oh no, no, that's not how it goes. Let's see what kind of boyfriends that you can bring in and kind of create part of your identity with who you can bring in as a partner. So let me tell you, my familial, my society, even the queer community and the heterosexual community did not know what to do with me, because you're invisible in so many different ways. So it all came back to, you know, I loved what last year's, you know, International Women's Day quote was be bold. And that is something that has stuck with me because, like you've said, we've been silenced for so long. So even in sharing what it means to be pansexual, that is opening up the door for more people to understand the different forms of sexuality that are out there, especially in a world that we've come so far in relieving some of the taboos around women's sexuality, but we have a damn well far way to go. And something that I really admire in my co-host on our podcast is the level of people that we bring into the show, largely from his leadership and who he reaches out to in talking. A lot of what we talk about is women's sexual empowerment and what that means for different phases of your life, because it's changing. We just had a lady who's creating this whole new toy that is completely revolutionary. She got an award from it. It was rescinded because it was profane. And she had a huge press release. Before you knew it, she had a whole war room of press conferences, was invited by the whole team of Cosmopolitan magazine. Everybody wants to know what this product is because she said, you know what? I'm going to stand up against this tech industry that have said something that is now outdated and say that women's sexuality is damn important and we're going to fight for it. Woo!
I think one of the most damaging things about should-bes is that it takes us out of our center. So it takes us away from knowing ourselves, our real passions, our real talents, our real motivations, what really comes from inside of us. It takes us out of the center of who we are, takes us out of our base and our balance, out of our truth, and that can lead to an awful lot of difficulties. I want to talk, if you don't mind. Oh, well, let me just say one other thing about should-bes. If anybody's ever been left-handed, and you should be right-handed, right? Yeah, and you should be taller, and you're not, or you should be shorter, and you're not, or you should be a different weight. You should have different color hair. You should, right? There's so many, and we can't help but internalize them, and then we lose track of who we are. And you can go far afield. Many people have gone far afield, and they've had kids when they don't want them, or they've been gay when they're straight, or they've been straight when they're gay, or just so many ways that we get led astray by the should-bes. I think from our own core, our own connection to ourselves. By the way, I'm writing a book about all this, so look for it next year. But I'm going to shift the should-be to similar words. And this is from a technique called releasing. It's something I teach, and it's that I learned. It's fantastic because we need to let go of the should-bes, right? And these sort of false identities, shall we say. And so I'm going to change it to, in the release technique, the first question is, could you? Okay? It's about could. And could is about can. Do you have the power? Do you have the capability? And we pretty much have that ability for anything. So the answer to could be in the releasing method is always got to be yes. I could, I can, got the power. The second question is, would you? And would you is about, do you have the willingness? Are you willing? So actually, with some friends, we created our own release technique, and it was about identities, releasing limiting identities or false identities, these should-bes. Yep. So you could say, I'm a person who should be. Whatever, I should be a wife, I should be straight, I should be, I should be religious, I should be going to church, I should be, whatever it is. So I should. And then, well, could you let that go? Could you? Whatever that thought or belief is. You probably could, right? The answer's got to be yes. So the second question is, would you? Would you be willing to let that go? And sometimes it feels like I couldn't or I wouldn't, but there's a could and a would and a yes in there, correct? And so we can let go of the should-bes. And then the third question, because there's only 3 releasing questions, could you, would you, and the last one is when. And the answer to that has to be now. Because if you say later or tomorrow or when so-and-so does such and such and when this changes and when, Trump's out of office or, whatever it might be, we can't wait, right? And we have no time to waste and we can't wait. So could you, would you, when, rather than should you.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you.
By the way, and then you let go of all those false should-bes.
How many people in this room have a dream? Is it your dream, or is it a dream that was given to you to have? Do you know what your actual dream is? Do you know who you are, truly? We're all conditioned here. It can't help but be. Finding that authentic self, then you won't need a should at all. You just be you.
Nice. Hashtag boom. It's like mic drop after that one. Yeah, you know, like I was just listening to everyone and I'm thinking, who created the shoulds? Right? Who is the originator of that? Let's find that person.
Patriarchy.
It must be. It's got to be some guy out there. Because I concur with everyone. Those shoulds take us off our path. They take you away from your authentic self. They take you away from your gifts and dreams. And you're perfect just the way you are. Like, just breathe that in. Just the way you are. You're absolutely perfect. And your challenges for you are perfect. And they're there for a reason. We've heard this morning amazing speakers on the challenges they've had and the adversity they've overcome. Incredible, right? Has it been an incredible morning so far? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So if we're wrapping up this last question, this question here, it's, who wrote your owner's manual? Hopefully it was you. If not, let's rewrite it. And own your life. Own everything about it. And then those shoulds and should be's, they all fall away. They all get transmuted to the light. Can you do that? Awesome.
Thank you. Woo! Beautiful. So transformation, really, it's within us right at the very beginning, from the moment we come into this world. We just get lost. So transformation is actually getting back to who we truly are, our true, authentic selves. And too often, it's adversity that creates that opportunity for transformation, right? So we've been talking this morning, we've heard from some amazing individuals, and here with me now, they are our new generation leaders. But they've overcome adversity. So I'm just sort of lasting as a wrap-up question here. How does this adversity actually create our new generation leaders? I think we have the answer here, but let's just summarize it for everybody here so you can really take this home. Heather.
Well, when I think of what adversity has done in my life is that it really shakes you down to the very bone. And you have to look at all the layers of maybe the pieces that other people have put into your manual and say, you know what, I am getting rid of those. And I think another really key piece of that is, you know, I've heard from so many wise people, wise women who have come before me, and they said, one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever got is to begin to free yourself of what others think of you. We are so caught up in what others think of us that we completely lose sight of who we are and what matters to us. So, I mean, that to me is just the pinnacle of what it means to be shaken down by adversity and to really be free of the expectations others put on us.
Thank you.
Well, I think that one of the biggest things I've learned through my life and through adversity is to trust. And we hear that, like, trust the process and be patient. I always hated patience. Anybody like patience? Actually, I speak Hebrew fluently, and I'll share a few words from Hebrew. One is patience, and it comes from the root word Hebrew's built on root words, sevel, and what sevel means is to suffer. But there is something to be said for patience in the sense of right timing, shall we say. And we never really are totally in control of things and how long some things might take, or transformation or a process, the transition can take. And so it's sort of trusting the energy, trusting your intuition, trusting the need, the ebb and flow of rest and out there, what we might call the masculine do-it energies, the more receptive, sensitive energies, sometimes rest and renewal energies, really trusting all of those things, and trusting that there's an incredible intelligence in life and in the universe and in yourself that it's okay to be with. One of the biggest things that happened to me was that I'm Jewish, as you know, and that means I'm a type A Jewish overachiever. And that is just a terrible combination. And I went kind of like, 25-8, I call it, for years and years and years, until I went not just into a state of stress or burnout, but I went to what my doctor called adrenal collapse. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and I'm sure some of you may be dealing with that. And most doctors, I must say it was a naturopathic doctor, because regular doctors didn't have a clue what was the problem. And I had like clinical anxiety and depression, and I couldn't decide. And I'm a world traveler. I could hardly get in my car. It freaked me out. The thought of getting on an airplane, I thought I'd go stark raving mad just thinking about it. That process of knowing what was the matter and getting well through it actually has turned me into a stress expert. Never thought I'd be such a thing. And talking to executives and CEOs all over Canada, as a matter of fact, and the States, about stress less, prosper more, and how serious stress really is. And I think as women, we really need to take that seriously. I could give you a whole seminar on that. But I just wanted to say one more thing about should and could and would. So if you take any of your shoulds, so let's say, whatever your should be, could you? Yeah? And maybe, could you be that? As opposed to let's just even say you should be courageous, which we might get a message of that, yeah? So I should be courageous, I should be confident. But let's take courageous, I should be courageous. Maybe I feel like I'm not, right? And then it's like, well, could I be courageous? That really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It shifts the energy around that. And then, would I be courageous? Do I want to be? Right now, maybe, now, yes, maybe not in this moment. That's not quite how I feel, but we can get there. So I would suggest starting to work with could and would, and take your shoulds into coulds and woulds, and see how that shifts so that you can actually own who you really are and what you really want for yourself and what and how you want to be.
Love. Thank you.
What was the word again? Adversity. Yeah. Okay. Adversity. Who believes in a higher power? Mm-hmm. I believe that this higher power looks out for us 24/7, all the days of our lives. And adversity is its way of saying, I love you, and I want you to move forward. Adversity is just that. It's just speaking to you with love. How you take that, that's up to you.
Beautiful.
Nice. Another hashtag boom. Guy, you are like,
Come on, Jaden, you
let's
can do
get
it.
bumper stickers for this guy. He could just write everything he says. We're putting on a bumper sticker. So adversity, I look at it as one of those things that I hold close to me. I don't push it away. It's that thing that helps me move forward. I keep it close. I lean into it because I know when I'm feeling the energy of that, I'm getting somewhere. Something good is on the other side of adversity. That's the cosmic giggle. Boom. Thank you. So embrace it, lean into it, be grateful for it. It's there for you. It has a message. It comes with wisdom, and it allows you to move through things that perhaps you wouldn't have moved through if you didn't have it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Oh, hang on, Jamie. Go on, quick.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say something I talk about a lot is SDF mode, which happens when we're in adversity, and SDF means shit, damn, fuck. Okay? So, right? So we can, and it's kind of like we fall into SDF mode. I think it's a very natural thing to do. I mean, a golfer on a golf course does that. So a business person, right? Parents. So when, but the tendency is to sort of fall into SDF mode, and this is where the shit happens shift needs to happen. And it's recognizing that we kind of fall into what is actually measurably lower vibrational frequency, negative thinking, negative emotions, lower energy, even our immune system, we may get sick. And so I think the talent and the skill that's you can learn in life is how to move yourself, how to shift and bring yourself back up out of SDF so that we can get into, say, the power of positive thinking or higher emotional states. But it's really just about really developing the skills to shift. And I think we can do that, and adversity certainly challenges us to do that. And that's when we go, oh my God, I became stronger.
So many key things here. Ladies and gentlemen, our transformation panel, and they have just given you the recipe for transformation. Thank you. Love you all.